all, new verse as we continue on into Isaiah. Today we're going to be picking up with sort of a different way of doing it. It's going to be over the next couple of weeks. Because these next verses here, 9 all the way into 20, really, are about idol makers and crafters. And about the foolishness therein. And it's really easy in the religion side of things. I've experienced it and I've done it. This is just owning it, of experiencing the casting down this kind of person. And the more I read it, the more I dig into it, I want to take a slow bit of time to see the person. Because it's easy to say, fool, moron, shame, damn, to go. And it's another thing entirely to see the person who's doing it, to kind of get inside their head, is to see their logic. Because even the most illogical person is completely logical with their action. You just have to take them long enough to understand the logic behind it. It's heuristic learning. It's flowchart learning. Like, human beings are remarkably simplistic in that form. As long as you can find the strain of logic, you can follow it back through. It's like untangling a wire. The core thought has an origin point. You just have to follow it. Every single one of them does. That's human psychology 101. If you want to understand a person, if you want to get inside their head, if you want to make them talk and see how they think and tinker and twitch, it's how you do it. People need to talk. People need to let it out. You need to be able to let them show you the line of logic. Because we never really know why somebody makes the choices they do until we see it. And when we judge each other according to the end choices we are only seeing and not the series that led up to it, kind of problem, right? It's one thing, oh, well, my father smacked me around, I condemn him to hell. Right. How much was he abused? And how much was his father abused? Like, oh, well, you're just forgetting. No. I'm not condoning anything in that form. I'm recognizing there is a brokenness at its core that needs to be fixed. Each generation passed of abuse to abuser, abuse to abusee to abuser, abusee to abuser, abusee to abuser, replicated and segregated over and over again. Time is a flat circle ad infinitum, generation to generation, on the macro of family and the micro of family and the macro of nations, because it doesn't change. Something needs to be dealt with. Because the only way the macro of nations is going to change is if the micro of the human heart changes. And for that repetitious cycle of somebody who was abused as a little kid growing up and becoming an abuser to be stopped. And the only way that can be stopped is if the person who was abused has a chance to heal. How can they heal if they're not seen as a person with wounds that need to be patched and fixed and set right? Humans that need to be loved. Are there some choices that are like, no? Yes, absolutely. Should we still not see the people? Alright, I'm going to step on a third wire for a minute, but I don't care. I'm kind of fond of them. They make my hand stare up nifty. How do you think I get that? How do you get the clown effect, really? Let's do abortion for a minute, right? Judging a person who's getting to that place, like every single person I know who's ever had to go through that has said the exact same thing. Most horrible and painful decision of their life. Condemning somebody who's made it to that crossroad point of those horrible decisions is really not going to be helpful. Listening to them, being there for them, providing ways that can hopefully give a solution out there, like, I don't know, fixing the adoption system or having people actually invested and involved. I don't know. Maybe have the church actually care about the person who's in such a hard place that they go, oh, I don't care that you don't go to our church. You're having a hard time and we can help you. Come on in. Why? Because you're having a hard time and you're hurting and this is a church. Duh. Like, come on in. That's the purpose of a church. To help the lost and the broken and the hurting, because it's a home and a hospital and a place to pass the salt, a place for dining together, a beautiful wedding feast where all the lost, the hurting, the lame, and the broken are invited. And that's what I want to dig into with these verses we go on to, is seeing the person. Because Yahweh is interested in seeing the person. You know, oh, she wasted so much money, a year's wages. What she just did will be talked about wherever the gospel is preached. Well, it's just an army of slaves pulled out of Egypt, and they are to be a kingdom of priests. It's just some nomad from Ur, and he shall be the father of many nations. The story here is a human story. It's a God story showing him with us. Emmanuel. Like, this is the story of God through all of the generations, through all of our story, through all of our history, because this is our shared story. That the Lord of all creation chose and made a way so that he would be known. And he didn't shy away from men or women, from outcasts or well-known people. Because in Jesus' own lineage, you have Rahab, who was in Jericho, the harlot who hid the spies. Yeah, that Rahab. Ruth, a Moabite. I mean, you have so many people who are not of Jewish blood lineage, but part of Jesus' bloodline, because it's about faith. It's about heart. It's about more. And so as we dig into these verses together, the remainder of this week and as we finish out into 20, I don't want to be looking at the religious side of pointing and laughing at the idiot who would make an idol, because it's easy to do. What I want to do is see the person who would make it, so that when we encounter those idols in our own life, it's a little bit easier to cast them out and throw them away. Because we realize that the idol isn't going to do anything to help us. It's not going to save. It's not going to help. Usually all they do is hurt. Best case scenario. That's what I want to dig into here. Because it's easy to laugh at people. It's another thing to love them. And that's what we're called to do. So as we pick up, continuing through the rest of the week, you have the heads up. Here we get into it. I'll see you Thursday as we do. May his favor be upon you. Know that you're loved. I'll see you then.